Hello and welcome to another episode of Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to July 15th, 1988. Pretty much the middle point of the year in general. So we have got 5 movies to take a look at today. So let's go ahead and jump right to it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend. And that is Clint Eastwood returning one last time as Dirty Harry in The Deadpool.
Forgot your fortune cookie.
What?
So you think you know what Dirty Harry's up to? Take another look.
No big secret. The Deadpool is just a harmless game.
Sounds pretty sick to me.
I'll play his game and make it real.
Will the game continue?
In case you don't realize it, Callahan, your name is on this list, too.
Don't you get it? The whole idea is to pick celebrities who aren't going to make it because they're old, or because they're sick, or because they're on a high-risk profession.
Like police work?
Nothing personal, huh?
Sounds to me like this Deadpool thing is making you a little paranoid, Callahan.
Maybe I'll start my own Deadpool and put you on it.
You threatening me?
You want to play the game? You better know the rules, love.
Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry. He's just learned a new game. The Deadpool.
Couple things here. One, it's not Clint Eastwood playing Deadpool, which back in 1988... probably would have been kind of interesting to see how that panned out. 2, unfortunately, I had to cut that trailer down, but it's a badass trailer with them playing Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses, who actually do show up in this movie. 3, as badass as they want to make that harpoon look, that shot of him look with a harpoon at the end, when you really think about it in context of that scene in particular, it's a little silly, but you know what? It works. It works when it plays out in the end. But, yeah, we could talk about some other things as well. But the story of this is that you have the manipulation of a Deadpool game by a serial killer whose efforts are confronted by the hardened detective Harry Callahan, once again played by Clint Eastwood. It also features Liam Neeson in his first action film role, a young Patricia Clarkson, Jim Carrey in his first dramatic role. Remember, he was on The Duck Factory is in the 1980s, and this was one of his first real big film roles. And this film also has an appearance by a future Mario. Charles Martinet was actually in this movie. I did not know that. But, as far as the Deadpool goes, it's a pretty solid action movie. It's a movie that is a ton of fun. It's a very short movie, too. It's only an hour and a half long, which compared to some of the other Dirty Harry movies, and especially when you can take a look at the action movies of today, which are like over 2.5 hours long, the fact that they were able to do this in an hour and a half and it does not feel boring at all, I give them a lot of credit for that. I mean, this is a really fun Dirty Harry movie. I think they did looking back on this movie, because I remember the first time I saw this movie a while ago, and I was really not a long time ago, I should say, and I was not the biggest fan of this movie, honestly. I thought it was definitely one of the lesser of the Dirty Harry movies, but as time has gone on and I've realized this movie, what they were trying to accomplish, I think it's more enjoyable now than it was the first time I saw it. I saw this for the first time about almost 15 years ago when I got the Dirty Harry box set, and yeah, like I said before, it really took my time. It really took a lot of time for me to really appreciate what this movie was trying to do. It was giving us a simple, straightforward, good, fun summer popcorn movie, and it really is Dirty Harry doing what Clint Eastwood doing what does best with Dirty Harry. I mean, this is a character that really. It'd be cool to see. I've always thought it would be cool to see him have his last like big movie playing Harry Callahan, kind of like what he did with Unforgiven, which was his last big Western film. But then again, like I said, the more I think about it, I think it definitely does hold up much better over time. I think it is a very fun film. It has, you can tell there's a lot of influences from a lot of classic movies of this type, most specifically like Bullet, the Steve McQueen movie. You can definitely see a lot of the homages there. You can see a lot of the visual aspects of this movie that are very nicely done. And there is a lot of really cool stuff about this movie, from the casting to the action sequences to like the fun elements of it. It's a lot of fun, man. It's a movie that I really have grown to appreciate more and more over time. It's not the best Dirty Harry movie by any means necessary, but it's still a really fun movie, and I'd say it's definitely worth the watch. So yeah, with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is my all-time favorite movie of all time, getting a re-release, and that is Bambi.
It's the return of one of Walt Disney's greatest animated achievements.
This is quite an occasion.
This is Bambi.
Kinda wobbly, isn't he? Thumper.
Well, he is.
Bambi.
Bird.
Everything he experiences is an adventure.
Watch out.
And every creature he meets is a friend.
Flower. That's all right. He can call me a flower if he wants to.
Bambi. He's growing up, falling in love, learning all about the world around him.
There might be danger.
Bambi! Quick, Feline, jump!
And now he's back, along with some of Disney's most beloved characters.
Some fun, huh, Bambi?
It's the unforgettable magic of Bambi.
Gee whiz, what happened that time?
And it's happening this summer, only at a theater near you.
What you gonna call him?
Don't you know?
Walt Disney's classic, Bambi. Don't miss it.
I made that last part up myself.
The most interesting thing about that trailer is that you notice Mark Elliott's voice. Mark Elliott, of course, is the longtime Disney voice announcer. This was a trailer that he said a long time ago, before he passed away, that this was one of those trailers. I think the only trailer where he actually had a cold and a sore throat, but he went through it anyway, and he delivered on that trailer there. I also think it's kind of amusing that they throw in the obviously dubbed 1980s voices on these characters, and you only hear a little bit of the original voice recordings from the original movie, and you can tell it's definitely trying to be way too kiddish, because I mean, there's a lot of dialogue in that trailer that is very much dubbed is in 1988 that really is not in the film itself, and I wish I could go more into this. I've definitely delved more into this on other videos, so I'm not going to delve in too much more about why I love this movie. I mean, this is my favorite movie of all time. I've talked about it before in the past. When we talk about it more down the road here, as I continue on with the other show, the Reviewer Network talks about, when we get to my favorite movie of all time. And, yeah, there's really not much more I can add to this that hasn't really already been said already. And like I said, I could add much more to it, but again, I've already said too much about it. It's my favorite movie of all time. I love the animation. I love the visuals. I love the storytelling. I think it's a very well-made film. Like I said, it's my favorite film of all time, so I'm not going to delve too much more into that one here. But I will delve into these next couple of movies, which are some of the best movies of the 80s, quite honestly. Let's start off with the movie that the debate continues on whether or not it's actually a Christmas movie. That is Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
They have already killed one hostage.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, we sound like a war to pieces! He's inside? Who is it?
Who are you then? You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Sorry, wrong guess, huh? Would you like to go for double jeopardy?
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, mother... You just destroyed a building. I am in charge of this situation. I got some bad news for you. From up here, that look like you're in charge of Jack. He is alone, he is tired, and he hasn't seen dipping squat from anybody down here.
Hey, pal, how you feeling?
All things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
Only John can drive somebody that crazy.
He's an easy guy to like,
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
and a hard man to kill. Bruce Willis, Die Hard.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?
I mean, honestly, this is another movie I really do not need to say too much more about, because everybody and anybody loves this movie. I mean, this is a film that is definitely considered not only one of the greatest action movies of all time, maybe one of the greatest movies of all time, period. Obvious story here, you have a New York City police officer, John McClane, played by Bruce Willis. He's in town in Los Angeles while he's visiting his ex-wife, or I guess it's a strange wife. I can't remember if they actually did say that they got divorced at this point, which I thought they did, but could be wrong on that. But visits her at Nakatomi Plaza, and then all of a sudden terrorists take over. The leader of it, Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, they're of course out to get this thing from inside the Nakatomi Plaza vaults, and of course it's up to John McClane to do what he has to do and to save the day. And at the time this movie came out, this was a very interesting film for a number of different reasons. Surprisingly, a lot of the big action stars turned this down. Arnold Schwarzenegger turned it down. Sylvester Stallone turned it down. They paid Bruce Willis a ton of money at the time, $5 million, which is very interesting because he was mostly known for his work on television. Of course, he was on Moonlighting at the time, and he was mostly seen as a comedic actor and not really seen as big of an action draw, which I think this kind of started that trend of comedic actors taking a chance on bigger action projects because, of course, the year after this, we'd get Michael Keaton, mostly known for his comedic works on movies like Mr. Mom and Beetlejuice, and he becomes Batman. He turns out to be pretty good at that. And I think that the best representation of this nowadays, Chris Pratt. I mean, Chris Pratt started off doing mostly comedic stuff with Parks and Recreation, and now he's gone on to become a decent action star in general with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which mostly is working because it's an action comedy, and there's definitely a lot of stuff he's been in that I think he's been really good in. But this was the one that really started that trend in general. I mean, this was seen as something that the deal in general was basically seen at the time as a poor investment by industry professionals and attracted significant controversy to the film's release. And in fact, the movie was actually seen as probably going to be one of the big bombs. The expectations for it were so low that they actually, when the marketing came out of this movie, they decided not to put Willis's image on there because the publicity team thought the setting was more important than John McClane was. And even at the time of this movie's release, it was not a big hit critically. A lot of the criticism was towards the violence, towards the plot, towards Willis's performance. Even though the direction and the action sequences and Hans Gruber were very much praised at the time, it defied expectations. It went on to become a massive hit. It actually got 4 Oscar nominations and essentially made the careers of both Bruce Willis, who became a leading man star at that point, and made Alan Rickman a celebrity as well. But of course, like with a lot of these movies back then, this movie has evolved into the classic that it is known for today. It's been heavily revitalized the action genre. It made a successful franchise out of these movies. Every action film coming out from this point on had to be Die Hard on a so-and-so. Like Speed was Die Hard on a bus, and then when Speed was a success, it was Speed on a bus. I mean, everyone wanted a piece of this pie at this point, and it's hard not to see why. This is a classic action comedy. I mean, it is an action comedy, but it's more of a thriller than an action comedy. But there are a lot of comedic aspects to it. There are a lot of great funny lines in the film, especially from Bruce Willis. You know, that scene when he's in the vent, he's just like, "Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs." Like, stuff like that is very funny, but it's not the main focus of the film. The main focus is the action. The action sequences in this movie are absolutely spectacular. Over 35 years later, this stuff still holds up to this very day. And there is still a lot of big tension-filled moments in this movie that still hold up to this very day. I mean, the scene at the end, towards the end of the movie, where he's jumping off the building and he has to find a way to break through the glass because the top of the building's exploding, and he shoots through the window, knocks into the glass. He's already banged and bruised up here, and then that slow realization that the fire hose that he was holding on to hang on there is going down. He has to put it together in his head, like, oh shit, this thing is gonna take me down with him. So, like, and you see him just sliding slowly towards the end of the building. It's just like, all these years later, that scene still holds up. It's still very tension-filled. It's still very well done, and a lot of the action in this movie is well done. Hans Gruber is one of the great film villains of all time. You have great performances by Bonnie Bedelia, Reginald VelJohnson, William Atherton, Paul Gleason, Hart Bochner. Just a really fantastic cast in this film. It's just a movie that just still holds up after so many years. And quite frankly, I think I've more than said enough that's probably hasn't been said already, or maybe has been said already, but there really is nothing new I can add to this movie. If you have not seen Die Hard, you are doing yourself a major, major disservice by not doing so. Get off your ass and see Die Hard, damn it. See this movie because it's more than worth it. And I'm just gonna say it. It's a Christmas film. Like it really is a Christmas film. Like this needs to be like a network has to have this as a 24-hour marathon on Christmas Eve at some point. Like, we can have a Christmas story on a Christmas, is 24 hours of that on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but Christmas Eve before then, somebody's got to do a Die Hard marathon, 24 hours. I mean, it just has to be done. I think Paramount Network has actually done that on occasion, but we need to make that official, man. Like, FX, Disney, whatever you have to do, get on that. If you have to re-release this in theaters every year, so be it. It needs to be seen. Die Hard. Not much more to say about that one, but here's another movie I might not have to say too much about. A Fish Called Wanda.
Darling. Darling? Yes, dear? Is a lawyer who's in love with a thief, who's hiding the key to a small fortune.
20 million.
From a killer called Otto. Are you totally deranged?
Friends, hello, Ted.
A crazy called Ken. And only a fish called Wanda knows where it is.
Where are the diamonds?
A Fish Called Wanda.
Hello, Wanda.
Rated R. Starts Friday. Check newspaper for a theater near you.
I mean, 1988 was a pretty good summer, as we're going to see later on down the road here. I mean, we just talked about a couple of really good movies in the last couple of weeks, but this is another one, man. A Fish Called Wanda. It follows a gang of diamond thieves who double-cross one another to receive stolen diamonds hidden by their jailed leader. And his barista becomes a central figure, and jealousy's rage as femme fatale Wanda, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, seduces him to locate the loot. Of course, you have John Cleese, Kevin Kline, and Michael Palin among the cast here. This movie is absolutely hilarious. This is one of the greatest comedies ever made. I mean, let me tell you how funny this movie is. When this movie came out, there was a Danish audiologist who actually died while laughing during a screening, which led newspapers to report that he had died from laughter. Now, technically, he died because of heart fibrillation. Good Lord. Heart fibrillation, which may have caused an increased heart rate due to extended laughter. And Cleese has considered using the event for publicity, but ultimately decided it was in bad taste. But just think about that for a second. A dude died of laughter. Basically, died of laughter from watching this movie. It's a movie that literally is so funny, you may actually die because of it. And quite frankly, I can't blame him, man. Like I said, this is a classic comedy on so many levels. It is very funny. It is well done. The writing by John Cleese and director Charles Crichton is top-notch. Kevin Kline, man, he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, back when the Oscars actually took comedy seriously and compared to nowadays. But then again, we'll see what happens on Tuesday. Barbie could get some nominations in the top categories. But Kevin Kline deserves an Oscar for this because he is that good in this movie. He is so funny. He has the best moments in the entire movie, like the funniest lines in the film. Like classic lines, like he opens the safe deposit box and nothing's in there. He's just like, disappointed! And his screams are top notch. Like when he's in the car and he's just like convulsing, just like, fuck you! Like moments like that are absolutely brilliant. There's a ton of great moments all throughout this movie. There's a lot of great dark comedy. There's a lot of great elements to the film. I mean, this is a really, really well done film, and this is a film that has held up so well in the 35 years plus that this movie has been out. This is a classic film on so many levels, and it's a real example of hitting lightning in a bottle, because when they tried to do this again with the sequel Fierce Creatures about 9 years later, it didn't work out as well as they really wanted it to, even though it had a lot of the same people involved in that one. Like, sometimes it's just you hit the lightning in the bottle once, and it very rarely strikes twice, and that's a prime example here. This is a film that is just so funny, that still holds up after so many years. Like, I don't think I have to say too much more about this. This is a classic movie. Like, again, kind of like with Die Hard, get off your ass and see A Fish Called Wanda if you haven't seen it, because it's more than worth it. So, yeah, that's A Fish Called Wanda. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here, probably the least known movie that we have on here, and that is Peter Weller and Kathy Baker in A Killing Affair.
I'm Baston Morris from Oakland, and is there something wrong? What? I seen you in the woods with their gun, and now I was wondering, you need help? No.
So little known that there is literally no trailer for that. I actually had to take that from the actual movie. You have the story of a widow played by Kathy Baker who takes in a drifter played by Peter Weller, who she believed killed her husband. She begins to fall for him, but cannot be sure if she should trust him. This is written and directed by the man who did the story for Cocoon. It's also got John Glover in it, and that's pretty much all I know about this movie. I've never seen this film before. Sounds like an interesting storyline, honestly, but it also has that feel of, one of those movies that could easily be a movie of the week on TV, like it'd be the big Sunday night movie on CBS or NBC or ABC. Nothing about this really screams like a theatrical release, and this actually was filmed in 1983 and has been sitting on a shelf since 1985. I mean, usually when that happens, the film is not that great in the long run, but it could be. Like I said, the premise is very interesting in general, but like I said, I don't know too much more about this. I've never seen the film. I can't really say if it is worthy of that at all, but it came out that weekend, so that's a killing affair. So on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies Flashback, and when we meet next time, we got a lot of sequels to cover. We have Arthur 2 on the Rocks, we have Short Circuit 2, and also Phantasm 2. And in addition to those, we have the Coreys, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, in License to Drive. So 4 films we'll take a look at next time, but until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next week, and until then, as always, take care.